Sometimes you just want to take a wade in the water. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I hope you're having a good day. Look, I think we have been, I don't know how long we've been in the proverbial lockdown here and how long movie theaters have been closed. And movie theaters for me is my church, something I would do at least once a week, if not several times a week. I'm fortunate enough to live within walking distance to 3 movie theaters where I live here in lovely Pasadena. But what's actually happened, sort of a positive thing of us, living through all of this, is that it's an opportunity for us to discover films on video on demand. And these are the kind of movies that we champion. And now I feel like without the oxygen being taken out of the air by all these big Hollywood movies, it's an opportunity to discover films that you can see on Amazon Prime. You can get on Vudu, iTunes, whatever, smaller indie movies that don't get a lot of love. So now is your chance to discover them and to go through a back catalog of amazing stuff. And I want to tell you about, before we get to our interview with Mark Wilson today, the director of Wade in the Water, I want to tell you about our event, Award This.
In a world where every award show is a fucking Zoom call, comes Award This. From your pals at Film Threat comes a celebration of true independent films. Join us on April 10th at a socially distanced drive-in. In fact, I'll be there as your announcer, wearing a hazmat suit and inside a giant Bacta tank. And prepare for a virtual award show unlike any other ever in the history of mankind, or awards kind. Award This 2021. It's happening, whether you like it or not. Drive-in live event on Saturday, April 10th. Virtual award show on Sunday, April 18th. Get tickets now at awardthis.com.
I hope you join us on the 18th for our virtual event. We still have limited tickets available for our April 10th event. And I know I'm not going to the Oscars or the Spirit Awards, but anyone can attend Award This. So I hope you join us. Now let's talk to Mark Wilson about his film Wade in the Water, which I was blown away by. I think first off, the tone of this film. I mean, it feels like it feels like an incredibly unique thriller. I think a lot of that has to do with the casting of your lead actor, he's a bigger gentleman. Let's just say this. He's a larger gentleman. Look up the trailer for Wade in the Water and check it out on YouTube as you go to seek out the film. But your lead actor really played it and created this vibe and tone. He's very sympathetic in his journey to track down a person in a unique way. We're along the journey with him. Where did you find your lead actor? How did you all work together and put together the cast for this amazing drama thriller? Tell me how you found him. He really is a find.
Right. No, definitely.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Sorry about that. How'd you find your lead actor?
Yeah. So we just put out a casting call in this indie world. My wife was actually the casting director. So we put out a casting call. We can you hear me, Chris?
I can hear you perfect. I just like to focus it on you.
Oh, okay.
I didn't go away. I'm just watching you. All right. If you're watching this on YouTube, I occasionally like to.
Gotcha. Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So we did a casting call. It's a unique role. We actually requested for like a bigger fella to come in, and we had about 10 people show up, and once Tom walked in the room, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy he's gonna take this movie to a next level. And then when I got to know him personally, he was just a great guy to work with. and you wanted to find a guy that you could sympathize with. It's a very meaty role. He's got some he's got some beasts he's battling, and you want to be able to be on the ride with him, like you said. And I'm glad you tracked with him.
No, for sure. And I just like, you don't see a lot of films with bigger people in the roles. And I think that, and also he's not a perfect person. I mean, he's kind of, at least when it comes to his hamburger, the hamburger joint that he goes to, is kind of like, could be kind of an asshole. He could be kind of an asshole. But there's a redemption to that. Like, you see him kind of like come to some realization that he's got to change some things about himself. I'm curious so he must have been amazing to work with, but also you see that his physicality, you feel for him.
Yeah. And even in like his physicality, he brought so much more to that character. Like, there's bigger things we notice, like him breathing heavily and him just, getting out of a car. It's not so easy for a big guy like him. So his whole stature brought so much to this character.
Was that in the writing when you were like putting this together and going through like was that part of it? Like, because it adds, so first of all, I didn't really think it would add, like, not, okay, well, but it really adds a lot, actually.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was definitely in the writing. It was a big guy. That's what we wanted. Also just kind of being the whole, if you watch the film, the whole background to this main guy and his past, he's kind of gotten to this state of this depression that he's been going through his whole life. So we wanted, I think it added a lot more to who he was and what he was going through.
It definitely did. And then I'm curious what inspired the main crux of the story, which, see, I don't want to give too much away because
it's hard to talk about.
yeah. But I mean, there's the way that you see him experience it, and he receives a package he should not receive effectively. And there's something in this package that shocks him, and he's on a mission to find the person that, the person that sent the package, right? He wants to find that person. And it leads to some surprises. What inspired that?
That whole storyline? My writer, producer, partner that I work with, Chris Schwartz, he came up with this whole concept. I mean, before Way in the Water came about, we were writing screenplays that were big budgets and were hard to produce. And me and Chris were watching a speech made by Mark Duplass at the South by Southwest Film Festival, like back in 2016, 17. And his whole message was, the cavalry's not coming. Go make your movies. Stop waiting. Because we kept waiting to get permission from people, get the finances and stuff. And Chris is like, I got an idea. I'm going to write a script that we could roll out of bed and shoot tomorrow. And so I'm like, all right. So I gave him, he wrote it. I think it was like a month. He wrote the script and he brought it to me. And my first reaction was I was terrified. It's a dark subject matter. And I immediately didn't want to do it. But then I realized the fact that it scared me, I should be doing it. So that's what came to it. But yeah, I don't know, Chris, my partner Chris, he has some, some dark writing in him. And yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's some dark subject matter, but it's also, it's very, I mean, you feel so much empathy for your lead character. Like, it's like, and there are, moments of redemption. You understand like the urgency that he feels. This creates, dare I say, it creates some purpose, right? Like it creates a purpose so that he's, this is something that can, shift the trajectory of his life. And first of all, I know that speech from Mark Duplass. It's a great speech. He gave it as the keynote at South by Southwest. You can the whole speech is on YouTube.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's the keynote address from the 2016 South by Southwest Film Festival. Mark Duplass. I'm pretty sure it was 2016. And that the cavalry isn't coming. That's his whole philosophy. That's how he made the puffy chair, which looking back, the puffy chair is kind of quaint, right? Like, well, he built up to doing the puffy chair. That's how, which is, if you haven't, for those that watching or listening haven't seen the puffy chair, it's about a guy who is buying a chair off of eBay to give as a gift to his dad, and he, rather than have it delivered, he's gonna go pick it up, right? And he and his he goes on a journey to get this chair. It's it's an ugly chair. It's not gonna lie, but I love that concept of, because so many filmmakers, and I see this prevailing attitude of like, no one's giving me an opportunity. No one owes you an opportunity.
Right.
Doors are going to slam in your face, and no one gives a shit about who you are. Hollywood is fucking brutal.
Yep.
I don't need to tell you. So what I've always loved about the indie film world is the concept of just hire yourself. You don't need permission to do anything. You don't need permission to tell your story. So, I just look at the people that complain about how they're not given opportunities by Hollywood. Fuck Hollywood.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, Mark Duplass didn't say that.
Right.
That'll be the speech that I'll never give at South by Southwest. Fuck Hollywood. But I love that aspect, because when you look at the film, I mean, look, okay, there's no explosions or whatnot, but the cinematography is beautiful. So the production value is there. So let's talk about, this is a movie you said you could roll out of bed and make tomorrow. Your writer Chris said that. Like,
right.
What were the, I mean, still, I feel like the movie, it looks amazing. Tell me about like what went into the production to give it that, to give it that production value, right? Which I always say is location and cast is production value. Yeah. And you had that. So, but like, talk about that a bit. I want to hear what went into that.
Yeah. So all the locations are basically my house, my writer's sister's apartment, and then all around Simi Valley, California, which is Ventura County, not LA County. They were so open arms to any indie filmmaking. They would charge us nothing or just a little something, and if you did it in LA, it would be like quadruple the price. So it was just amazing working out in Ventura. We also have good connections with Panavision, so they set us up with some of the best gear there is to make films with, basically like a filmmaker grant, and just with that, and then my team of talented people, my DP Tommy Rose, and our composer Jacob Boyd and Chris Retz, the producer I both went to high school with back in Arizona. We've always just stayed connected and just been championing each other, making our projects. So just it's a weird thing. It's timing. It's just the availability, and it all just came together. Thankfully, there's a few times Chris kept saying, "I don't know if we should go through with this," and I'm like, "Dude, it's now or never,"
No, I like that you just went for it. This film also received a lot of accolades at film festivals, and you're kind of at the end of the process. The movie is like in release. It's on Amazon and iTunes, and video on all the VOD major platforms. So now that you're like through this process, you're able to look back at this window of time. You made the movie. It's out. It's in release. What are the takeaways and things that you learned through that process? And I noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, is the movie distributed through Indie Rights?
It is, yes.
Because they're one of the ones that I will, filmmaker friends of mine will just say, why don't you just, you could go to a big distributor that will never pay you, or you could go to Indie Rights and you'll be getting, they're very transparent about their reporting when it comes to dollars that are coming in and then going to you. So can you tell me about like what are the takeaways that you learned, and then working with the distributor at Indie Rights, what was that process like? And what would you say if you were imparting advice to a filmmaker about to go through this process? What you might want to tell them, what they might want to know?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's just jump in there and do it. That's how I've looked. Like this past 2 years, we've learned so much, just production wise and distribution wise. For shooting, this was my first indie feature film. So my first advice was I would just go with your gut. Don't let all the voices stop you. Just go with your gut and just surround yourself with good people and people that are there that are passionate about what you're doing. With these indie films, it's great because you don't have a lot of egos on set. You don't have a lot of some of the Hollywood BS. You have people there that care about filmmaking, and I think that's most important. Is like at the end of the day, like we're a unit, we're a family, and that's just and that's what it's about. It's about the experience, and we have so many memories together, and now we're all just good friends afterwards. So it's definitely surround yourself by people that are passionate and that are love what you're doing. Distribution wise, we did go to a bunch of other distribution companies. So many people wanted to take a large cut of our film, and we wouldn't see anything for 2 to 3 years. And just from what we heard through the grapevine, it's sad, but for the indie world, if you don't have a name a part of your film, you're not going to make much money. There's a rare occasion it will, but most of the time it won't. So we were just like, let's just get the film out there. And so I previously did a documentary that I went through indie rights with, which I like because they don't take much percentage. They're very transparent, like you said, and they're upfront. Like I love Linda Nelson. She's very just to the point and, tell you how your film's doing and such. And they've just been super easy to work with. So I recommend for any independent filmmaker to check indie rights out just because also they don't have any upfront costs. That's huge. A lot of distribution companies will be like, pay us $15,000 up front and we don't have to disclose what those costs go to, which they just taking advantage of indie filmmakers, I think. So definitely check out indie rights.
And by the way, I just want to let everyone know, I just know the landscape of distributors for small indie movies that, don't have like those bankable stars, unfortunately. And in that landscape, indie rights is just one that I know, like I have friends who've had films distributed by them, who've done very well. So I'm not, I know the landscape, and I've heard more stories of filmmakers getting ripped off than I've had of the reverse of filmmakers being treated well. So, and indie rights is on a very short list of people out there that for smaller indies is a go-to. Mark, I assume you're working on something new now.
Yeah, we everything's pretty much locked. We have the script and everything. Now it's the whole fun financing part. So we're reaching out to a bunch of investment companies, but next one's a home invasion thriller with a fun little twist. So that's our next one.
Mark, thanks for talking to us on the Film Threat podcast. It was a pleasure. And you got to see this movie, Wade in the Water. You want to see a film that just with resources, good casting, and an imaginative script, very clever, original script. This is what's possible. Mark, thanks a lot for being on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.